The ocean outside your window has not always been where it is now. 300 feet below the waves that you see today, there are rivers that once flowed under open sky, forests that once echoed with birdsong, and the ash of cooking fires that once warmed human hands. Somewhere down there, in the cold, dark silence of the seafloor, lies a world that an entire chapter of human history once called home, and almost nobody talks about it. This is the story of the world the ocean swallowed. Picture the Earth around 20,000 years ago, near the height of the last ice age. Vast ice sheets, some over 2 miles thick, locked up so much of the planet's water that global sea levels sat roughly 400 feet lower than they do today. The coastlines we know now did not exist. In their place stretched enormous plains of land, dry, walkable, and in some cases teeming with life, where today there is only deep water and silence. Off the coast of Southeast Asia, where Indonesia, Malaysia, and the Philippines now scatter across the sea as thousands of separate islands, there once existed a single connected landmass that scientists call Sundaland. Java, Sumatra, and Borneo were not islands at all. They were hills and highlands rising out of a continuous stretch of land larger than India, crossed by wide rivers that no longer exist, their ancient channels still faintly visible today in the contours of the sea. Early humans and their ancestors moved across this land freely, on foot, following game and rivers, never imagining that the ground beneath them would one day rest under hundreds of feet of ocean.
This was meltwater pulse
on the other side
1A.
In what is
a
now the
cataclysmic
North
event
Sea
that
between
reshaped
Britain
the
and
planet
continental
as we
Europe,
know it.
lay a region
The sea
archaeologists
remembers what the
now
land
call
forgets.
Doggerland.
Beneath
It was
these
not a
waves
barren
lies the
strip of
great
tundra,
wood where our
evidence pulled up
ancestors
by
hunted.
fishing
We
trawlers
have
and later
impact. More
confirmed
data
by
streaming
careful
in.
underwater archaeology shows it was a landscape of marshes,
Looks like a
woodlands,
successful
and
run.
river valleys, rich with red deer, wild boar, and the people who hunted them. Mesolithic communities lived here, built shelters here, buried their dead here. For thousands of years, what is now
I think it's a
Britain
hand
was not
axe.
an island at
Look at the
all,
size of
but
this
simply the western edge of a much larger European landmass. And on the far side of the Pacific, a corridor of land connected Siberia to Alaska. We call it the Bering Land Bridge, though calling it a bridge undersells it. At its widest, it stretched nearly 1,000 miles from north to south, a landmass in its own right, with its own grasses, its own wildlife, its own weather. It was across this land, not across any sea, that the first human populations are believed to have walked from Asia into the Americas, beginning one of the greatest migrations in our species' history. These were not the edges of the map. They were the centers of human life for thousands of years. And then, slowly, the world began to change. As the last ice age came to its end, global temperatures rose. The great ice sheets that had locked away so much of Earth's water began to melt, and that meltwater had to go somewhere. It went into the oceans. Sea levels began climbing, not in a single dramatic flood, but in a process that unfolded across thousands of years, sometimes gradually, and at certain points, in sudden and devastating pulses. One of those pulses has a name among scientists, Meltwater Pulse 1A. Around 14,500 years ago, sea levels appear to have risen by as much as 50 feet in only a few centuries, an almost unimaginable pace by geological standards. For the communities living along low coastal plains, the change would not have happened overnight, but within a single human lifetime, a person could have watched the shoreline of their childhood vanish for good, watched familiar hunting grounds turn first to marsh, then to shallow lagoon, then to open sea. Try to imagine what that meant for the people who lived through it. A grandmother telling her grandchildren about a forest that now lies underwater, a fishing ground that her own grandmother once walked across as dry land, entire river valleys that families had used for generations slowly swallowed, foot by foot, year by year, until the place that once held their whole world existed only in memory and in story. Some researchers believe this slow, repeated experience of vanishing coastlines may even be reflected in flood myths and ancestral stories told by cultures separated by oceans, distant echoes of a shared lived reality rather than identical events. This remains a topic of careful scientific debate rather than settled fact, but the underlying physical event itself, the dramatic rise of the seas at the end of the Ice Age, is not in question. It is recorded in coral reefs, in sediment cores, in the drowned river channels still mapped beneath the waves. This is where the story turns from imagination to evidence, and where the real detective work begins. How do we know any of this actually happened, and how do we find what's left of it? The answers come from an unlikely partnership between geology and archaeology. Scientists studying ancient coral reefs can read sea level history almost like a tree's growth rings, since corals grow only within a narrow band near the ocean's surface, and dating the depth of fossil reefs tells researchers exactly how high the sea once stood at a given moment in time. Sediment cores drilled from the seafloor preserve pollen, charcoal, and organic material that reveal what kind of landscape, forest, grassland, or riverbank once existed in places that are now deep underwater. And sonar mapping of the seabed has revealed the ghostly outlines of ancient rivers, lakes,